So you got some sobriety under your belt. Everything seems to be going really well. Maybe you've made it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or maybe even several years you've been sober. Then all of a sudden life throws you a curveball and it seems like you have no choice in the matter, but the fact that you go to the bar and drink or drink at home or whatever it is that's going on, life just doesn't seem to be working well and you find yourself drinking again. Or maybe you slip up and you have a drink at a bar or a cocktail party, or you have an extra drink at home and you down it. What happens? Is this the end of sobriety as we know it? Is everything basically over and you start at day one? What can you do to minimize the risk, help yourself get sober again, and live a clean life without drinking? That's what we're going to talk about today, and I know this seems like a difficult topic, and many people have struggled with going out and drinking again, and today we're going to talk about what to do after you relapse, which could save your life. This is very important, but disclaimer, we're not doctors. We don't know how to save anyone's life, but this thing has helped many, many people, including ourselves, stay sober for the long haul. So, Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. And I do have a story of relapse, and I know many of you do. But first of all, before I get into that, let me just make sure you realize you do not ever have to relapse. And if you have relapsed, you don't have to relapse again. I mean, it's really, you can stop drinking right now. You don't have to drink again for the rest of your life. No problem. Or maybe it is a problem. For me, I kind of did have a relapse. I don't know that I really call it that, but I did stop drinking for a period. I went to rehab. I got out of rehab. A couple weeks later, I started drinking. Most people would call that a relapse. I kind of look at it as I really wasn't done drinking yet. But there was many things that caused that. Last week we did talk about relapse after trying to prevent that relapse after 60, 90 days, a few months, even a couple of years, on what you can do to prevent that. This week we're going to concentrate more on what happens if you did relapse. What do you need to do? And well, obviously, you need to stop drinking. But there's a little bit more involved in that, or quite a bit more for most of us. For me, what happened when I stopped drinking? Um, so I stopped drinking. I went to rehab. They gave me lots of tools. They brought in meetings and stuff like that, and they said you need to have a game plan when you get out because it's easy not to drink here in rehab, and it's not so easy when you get out back out in the real world, and that's was indeed the case. And for me, it wasn't any particular instance that caused me to start drinking again. It was just the fact that I wanted to drink. In fact, I was in a meeting and I thought I was going to get a drink on the way home, and that's what I did. And I was right back at it, right where I left off when I quit. And yeah, things just instantly got worse again. And the feeling that you get when you start drinking again, it's kind of double edged because I started drinking again. I felt good. I got that euphoric feeling that you get when you take that drink, I got that. And I continued to get that as I kept drinking, but it didn't last very long. And on top of that, I had this guilt that the guilt that everybody knew I'd gone to rehab. I had to hide it even more because they were going to make me quit again, and just all these other feelings of I'm a failure. Oh man, life is just sucks again, and just all these horrible feelings that I had, and it was terrible. It's a terrible feeling to have when you have some sobriety under your belt. You think you got this, and then you don't. But for me, I kept drinking for about a month, and then I had a medical issue that forced me to stop drinking. I had no choice, and that relapse. It almost did me in. It was a really major medical issue, but I was able to find sobriety eventually, and I've been sober since. Now, some of the things that I found and that was able to help me get sober. One of the things for sure was the fact that okay, Don't look at it as I'm a failure. Just I slipped. I had a setback. I had 30, 40, 45 days, something like that. I had that much sobriety. Okay, I drank for another month and I stopped again. Okay, now I can just keep going where I was. Now I had to get medical intervention and medical help. I absolutely needed that, and to get past the detox, that was necessary, and that's what pretty much anybody that relapses needs to do. But on top of that, it was a mental game, as far as I had to change my perspective towards this. I had to not be so down on myself. That's what you need to do, is don't be so down on yourself. This happens. Unfortunately, a lot of people relapse. That's life. That's what happens with some people. It's dangerous to relapse, but it happens. Now, what I had to do was just look back on it. Doesn't matter what happened in the past. Doesn't matter all these things all these problems I've caused and these problems in my life and all this. I have to stop drinking and move forward. Start right where I am now. That's what you need to do. You need to start right where you are right now and stop drinking and move forward. And try to start living a different life. One of the things you can do is look at what may have caused your relapse. There's a lot of different factors. For me, it didn't seem like there was any big event that happened. For me, it was just I had a craving, and I gave into it, and I started drinking. For a lot of people, well, I think that's probably the main cause is you crave the liquor because you used it as maybe it was a solution, made you feel better, or maybe it's just as simple as I just want to drink. But whatever the cause, it's a good idea to look at it to see what may have been the trigger. Maybe it was something happened at work, and something bad happened at work, and you just like, screw it, I'm gonna go get a drink, or something happened with a relationship, or maybe there are some friends on the other side of the coin. Maybe some friends were meeting at a bar, and you're like, I'll go and I'll just drink iced tea, or something like that, or maybe you are just hanging out with the wrong people. They are good friends. I understand that. I had to kind of step away from a lot of good friends when I first got sober. And maybe, you don't want to just suddenly, I'm not going to hang out with anybody. I'm going to sit at home. You want to be doing stuff. And it's things like that that you need to look at. What were the triggers? What may have caused that? But and for me, that's what I had to do. And I did have to kind of minimize my life for a little while. I had to not go out to those bars, not go out to the events so much. Or if I was going out to an event where there's alcohol, I brought somebody with me that knew my situation, or I had a phone number that I was going to call, of a friend that knows what's going on with me, so I could help keep myself accountable, or a party where I bring my own car and I can leave when the party starts going too much. But things like that, just trying to stay out of those dangerous situations. And danger, what I mean by dangerous is where there's alcohol and I might be tempted to drink. And so that's one of the things that I had to do, definitely. Another thing was, and I kind of already touched on it, was just letting go of that past. It's hard to let go of the past. We may have caused some damage. We we may feel that we're not great people, but if you're trying to get sober and you're trying to better your life, you're a good person. I mean, it's just take it easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. You can do this, and I think we can all move forward in a productive way. One of the things you can do, just kind of a silly little thing to do throughout your day, is, what did I do today that was good? I didn't drink. If that's all it was, hey, that's for me, especially in early sobriety, that was huge. I didn't take a drink today. And I know a lot of people that still take that piece of their inventory every day after being sober for 30 years. They're like, hallelujah, I didn't drink today. because they know what's going to happen if they start to drink. Um, there's other things that you can do. For me, a very big part of my sober life is developing these healthy habits. And for me, exercise is a big part of it. That's not necessarily a thing for everybody, but exercise is a really huge factor as far as keeping yourself feeling good. It helps you feel good about yourself, um, things like that. My exercise and my diet changes have allowed me to lose quite a bit of weight, and I feel pretty good about myself because of that. Of course, I want to be better, but I think that's everybody wants to be better, and you know, but doing other things like maybe limiting your social media presence. There's a lot of negative stuff on there, and if it's affecting you, maybe it's something that's a good idea to step away from, or getting away from the news. I know a lot of sober people. They're like, nope, I don't watch the news anymore. I do. I try to stay informed. I probably watch too much news, but at the same time, I take it with a grain of salt. Marcus has talked about things like the news uh, here and there, and he reminds us that that we really don't have much influence on what's going on in the world. All we can do is vote, things like that. There's what the president now, he's not going to have that much effect on me versus the president in the past or whatever. And I can only do what I can do. That's another huge thing is to keep in mind, is that we only have so much control over our lives. And we have almost no control over what other people are doing or thinking, and especially what they're thinking about us. All we can do is take care of ourselves. So trying to let go of those those bad habits is a big thing for trying to trying to get sober if you do relapse. And really the main thing is figuring out how to get sober again. And like I had already said, going to a doctor and getting sober, it one of the most difficult things I find in trying to get sober again if you've relapsed is that shame, and getting over that shame and reaching out for help. If you have relapsed, it's really hard to reach out for the help because everybody thinks, especially people that don't have an alcohol problem, they don't understand why you would possibly relapse. Their attitude is probably, why don't you just quit? I had lots of people tell me that. Why don't you just quit? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I should probably just quit. Yeah, you're right. And I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so I kept on drinking and reaching out to people that do understand and may be able to help. That's a great thing. That's one thing our program covers a lot, is being able to reach out and starting to develop a perspective to where you don't have to make alcohol part of your life. And if you do relapse, it's not the final answer. It's not. You don't have to keep going. You can stop. I know a lot of people that have relapsed many, many times, and in fact, the person that was running the rehab that we were in, he said he had 13 relapses, and he finally got sober. And what do you think, Marcus? He's probably sober 35 years now, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And I think did he go to rehab like 30 something times?
It was
Or
like
13 times?
yeah, 13 times
Yeah.
he went to rehab. So he obviously relapsed a lot more than that, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and he had some crazy stories, and I know quite a few people that have gone through it. It's definitely not something you want to do. Most people that relapse many, many times, they have a lot of permanent issues in their life that they may or may not be able to recover from. So it's something that can be dangerous. But yeah, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Bonnie is asking me. She said, Terry, do you think it's possible to drink moderately after being sober for a while? I don't know anybody that says they were chemically addicted to alcohol that have been ever able to successfully do it. I can't give you a definitive answer on that question, but from my experience and from what I've seen, people can't if they are chemically dependent. It changes our brain. And once our brain has been changed from the alcohol use, it's you you can't, as far as what I understand, you can't go back. The obsession when you do start to drink again, the obsession for the alcohol, the compulsion, the physical addiction will come back, and at least that's the experience that I've seen. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. So it's it's tough. I think the one of the biggest things is just that shame that you get. And I know, Marcus, you did not have an official relapse, but you relapsed probably a million times when you before you finally got sober with
Yeah.
recovery, right?
Yeah, when I was trying to get sober, I would go to meetings, I'd go to the Celebrate Recovery place, and I tried all kinds of different things, self help. Nothing was working, so those were relapses. I mean, I would be able to go 3 weeks without drinking, and then all of a sudden I'd start drinking again. And it was heartbreaking. It was like, okay, why do I keep doing this? What is going on? Am I weak willed? You know, what is the problem with me? And then I realized, well, the problem with me is I'm chemically dependent and I need to get help, and I need to realize that the problem is the alcohol rather than blaming it on everything else.
Yeah, definitely. I just scrolled through the comments. Sorry. um, yeah, David said, like they say in AA, if you do end up relapsing, keep coming. And he'd say the same for talk sober, as you were here before, and the education is necessary. It's important to understand the way it works, and just with Bonnie's question, that's a good thing to understand that pretty much if if you're an alcoholic or you're chemically dependent to something, you can't go back to it. You have to just completely knock it out of your life. And for me, I don't want to drink anymore. There's no reason for me to drink anymore. Alcohol it has no benefits for me whatsoever. And it's kind of interesting because, especially that first couple of years of sobriety, it was interesting to me because I was like, well, am I going to enjoy this without alcohol? Am I going to enjoy this? Like, especially like a concert, And I went to a concert where drugs and alcohol are a pretty big part of it with many of the people that go to it. And I was like, am I going to enjoy this at all? And I had a great time. And I did not drink. I did not use any substances, nothing. I stayed sober and enjoyed my Coca-Cola, and it was great. I had a good time. And
Yeah.
same with the parties. Now, that's something I wouldn't recommend anybody do, especially in super early sobriety. But events and things where alcohol is being served, I went to them and I go to them with a game plan, and I'm able to stay sober and I'm able to enjoy them. I actually enjoy them more now that I'm sober because I'm there, I'm present. I can actually hold a conversation and listen to what the other person is saying and be more engaged and develop friendships along the way. So it's a good thing, definitely. And yeah.
Cool. And talk about our sobriety program over there.
Yeah, so we do have a sobriety program that you guys can check out. It's Talk Sober. Go over to talksober.com, and this is a lot of the stuff that we teach in our sobriety program. And we teach you a new way to think about alcohol and about life. And there's lots of MP4s and videos and worksheets to work through. And it's a 30-day program, and it's just $27 a month. And you can go over there and sign up. You can also get a private sobriety call with Marcus and myself. And going back to the recovery class, if you do sign up, you'll get a private call from me if you would like. You don't have to have one. And we do have a Facebook group that you can join and ask any questions there. But yeah, Big Nasty says, I used to do everything with a beer in my hand, and now it's crazy to learn to do the same thing sober, but I'm loving it. And yeah, Me too. That's what it was. Alcohol was in my hand constantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, I wrote a couple notes here. I just want to make sure I covered everything. Um, you know, one of the interesting things about being sober and working on sobriety is you notice I did say working on sobriety. It is work sometimes, and part of that work is taking yourself out of the comfort zone. And for me, alcohol was a comfort zone, and that allowed me to escape and escape this stress of whatever in life. And for me, um, when I did get sober, I had to open up to people. And in my life before I stopped drinking, I didn't want to open up to anybody. Does anybody really want to talk to strangers or whatever about your feelings and things like that? Nobody wants to talk about that, or even loved ones. I didn't want to talk about feelings and stuff. And now and not that I'm the mushy person that does that constantly, but I am able to tell people how I feel and what's going on in my life, and I can be honest about it. And I'm telling you, living an honest life rather than hiding behind the bottle and hiding the bottle itself. Living the honest life is just so much easier, and it's completely worth it. And a lot of you here are sober, and I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. It's just so much easier to live sober, and we can tackle those problems that come through our life, like loved ones that are not sober that are causing trouble in our lives, and we can at least approach those in a more positive way, and maybe help them, or maybe have to step away, but we're able to live much more serenely. That's how I live. I just am loving life now.
Absolutely. So, yeah, check out talksober.com. Check out the recovery class, the sobriety calls, and all the info that we have for you over there. Lots of good stuff. A lot of people find pretty good value in what we have to offer over there. Thanks for being here. Terry, did you have any other questions, or has anyone else got
I'm just
questions on there?
scrolling these last couple ones.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Yep.
Well, Bonnie, you were saying, is it okay to have alcohol-free beer? That's something that you have to decide for yourself. I know sober people that drink it. I don't. Um, if you're asking that question, if it's okay, maybe it's not a good idea right now. It can make you feel like you're drinking something and maybe mentally trigger you. I don't know. I don't drink it. I don't need to. There's plenty of other stuff out there for me that's perfectly good. And
Yeah.
in early sobriety, I think it's important to focus on getting alcohol and anything that's related to alcohol or that reminds you of it out of your life, to change that perspective. You got to have a mental change, to where it's not an issue. For me, alcohol is neither here nor there. It's not an issue, so I don't need it. It's not like I'm fighting it. If I have to fight it, I'm not going to be successful with it. It just needs to be just something out there in the world that I don't partake in, and it's kind of that simple with me. So something like that, yeah, I don't. And Chad, you were 17 days sober and you relapsed, and like I've been talking about, you can don't worry about what happened, but you can get sober now, and hit up your doctor and make sure you detox safely. But you can do this. It's okay. You got the little sad face there, and you can use this as a stepping stone. Understand why you relapsed and move forward. And you can do this. And once you figure out why, then maybe you can avoid it again this next time. You can get sober, Chad. So right on. Thank you everybody for showing up. We really appreciate it. And go over to Talk Sober and check it out there. There's some free stuff on there. You can take an MIN alcoholic quiz, and join our Facebook group and sign up for our program.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Check out talksober.com, and we'll see you next week.